So I guess kind of like The Boys, but good.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So this is what could best be described as filler content, in that my original plans fell through for today, and you and I were talking about this in the car, and we both like, hey, we actually have a lot to say about this. Let's put a camera in front of it. And that's how we're talking about Invincible Season 1. Which is like not an inherently bad thing, but I usually, it's like, I don't usually do TV shows because they tend to be like big bulky business, and it makes it really hard to cover because like it's 2 hours versus like 13.
But this is also has a lot of like historical implications in the comic world, so
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, but I do this for WandaVision, and I'm probably gonna do it for Falcon Winter Soldier too. So it's like, yeah, there's precedent. We can cover comic TV shows. I'll compromise on that.
yeah, for sure. I mean, hell, we might even do an anime movie one day. Who knows?
One of these days.
One day.
We have done the animes in the past.
Which one?
We did Princess Mononoke.
Okay.
We did a couple Miyazaki's.
Okay.
And I know there's one we did.
Did you put Ponyo? That would be the one that came out in theaters.
No, I didn't do Ponyo. It was the last one he did, like the one about the planes.
Oh, I forgot what it's called.
You know what I'm talking about,
Yeah,
that, right? Yeah. And we also did Perfect Blue, I think it's what it's called.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, back when that had like a 1 day but really release in theaters.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. The psycho thriller, right?
Yeah, that was the case. Like, yeah, we'll do a retro review. We do that every now and again. So.
Alright, I mean, might as well do Akira. Anyway.
Exactly. Well, I don't think Kira's been re-released in theaters.
No, I mean, like, when they do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Anyway, let's talk about Invincible.
Yes. So, this is a comic I never finished Invincible. I read, like, a good chunk of, like, the first half of it.
Okay, so I'll tell you my experience.
By all means, go ahead.
Okay, so, I had just finished watching House MD on Amazon, and I was like, man, I have a show hole, like, what do I do with my life? And then they were like, hey, you should watch Invincible. And I'm like, okay, I have no context about this.
Did I tell you about it?
No. Amazon. It was an Amazon suggestion.
Okay.
It was on my Amazon list. I think it was a Monday, so you were at work.
Okay.
And so like, or whatever the hell it came out. And it was like, it was just like, oh hey, let's just watch. You should watch Invincible, right? And so it's like, the first scene with the clone brothers, that was,
by the way, this is spoiler-ish territory
it's the
for
first episode.
For the first episode. If you have not watched it at all and want to make it as spoiler-free as possible, I recommend it. It's a good show. Go watch it. Anyway, go ahead.
So it's like, you walk in, it's like, oh wow, we're the clone brothers. We're gonna do clone brother things, and then it's like, we're the knockoff superheroes from major comics.
Mostly DC.
Yeah. We're gonna do hero things, and nobody's gonna get hurt.
and then
I was like, okay, this is fine. Steven Yeun is Mark Grayson, and I like Steven Yeun in Final Space and The Walking Dead, and I think there's a movie I need to see.
Oh god, I'm gonna butcher the name if I don't look it up. It's the one that just got nominated for an Oscar. The person who played the grandma won it for like best supporting actress, I think.
Okay. Point is, Steven Yeun's fantastic, and I love him.
Minari. Alright, that's what it's called, Minari.
Okay. So yeah, no, it's so I'm like, okay, I'll watch this for Steven Yeun. And then, like, the end of the first episode happened, and I was like, oh, there's nothing fun about this. Everybody died. Everybody died in rather gruesome ways.
So, for context, now I'm not going to pretend to be, like, an Invincible aficionado, so don't, like, take me as, like, my usual comic scribe info on this. Ron calls it encyclopedic, and he's not wrong. But Invincible was his creation back in, like, I want to say it started in 2003. That was basically this little superhero comic book that was basically meant to parody the late 90s. Era of comic books, which was very much in the extreme era where every X-Men had massive bulging muscles.
Wasn't that also the era when didn't Hulk eat Wolverine around that time?
No, that came much later.
Was that?
That was
Okay.
Old Man Logan. That happened much later.
Okay. I mean, there's some pretty gruesome things that happened in the 90s, is the point.
I mean, the 90s was is often referred to as the worst era in comic books because it was that era where comic book companies realized that the young kids who read like the Golden Age stuff back in the 60s were adults now and they had adult money.
Right.
So the 90s was just shameless pandering for like 10 years. And that's where like all the extreme stuff came out. So like all like the like had male witch fulfillment at its worst. All the women's had thongs. All the X-Men had giant bulging muscles and like patches everywhere. And all this just it's incredible nonsense. And that's like if you look up Captain America and like the worst photo of him out there is one where it's like his boobs are like out to here and it's like faces where about my head is right now. Like anyone who's seen like that panel knows what I'm talking about.
I'm sure we could like cut in an image.
Maybe you could. Maybe I will. I mean, I'm actually put some effort into this.
This is the kind of thing where I would need to see an image to know what you're talking about later.
I'll show you. It's often regarded as like one of the worst comic book panels of all time. Like it's that bad. Like I think it happened during the Onslaught era, which is another whole thing. But that's where you got things like exclusive covers and like figurines, stuff like that. That's where like a lot of the modern day overindulgence of comic things tend to kind of sprout it from.
Oh, gotcha. This is so basically at that point, the phrase "it's not a phase, Mom" was certainly something to not be taken seriously.
It's
anymore.
when it was relatable to comic fans.
It's not a phase, Mom.
Like this is when comics stopped being sold in like grocery stores and stuff and started being sold in like exclusive comic stores.
Right.
Because they're trying to corner the market on that. So the original Invincible was very much a reaction to that, and I just got the first compendium today, so I've been rereading it like right before this review.
I saw it. It's like £10.
Like that series went on for like 16 fucking years.
No, the book that you bought that you ordered.
I know it's only volume 1. There's 3.
It's as thick as that. It's as thick as like a tissue box.
Oh yeah, you can murder somebody with it.
It's a murder weapon.
It very much is. So I've been kind of like reading through it and kind of like picking up on the differences, like where they kind of picked and matched their pieces for the show, and it's very very interesting because it feels like the original Invincible is definitely a satire on comics at that time. Like there's a direct Rorschach ripoff that they don't even pretend is not the case. Like the only difference between him is he has a little devil face that's cut out of like a white cloth. He's in the show, but it's not played that overtly.
I mean, you have Russian Flash. Not Wonder Woman.
Not Wonder Woman, who's a company owner who just like gets out, murders a demigod, and then tells her girlfriend to move. That's how she's introduced in the series.
I mean, yeah, and then like you had Aquaman, but he was more fish than man.
More fish than man. He just doesn't. It has nothing to do in between superhero missions, so he's getting bored.
Which I think was hilarious when they introduced him like that.
He's
just like, ugh.
I think the biggest difference between the show and the book is
pacing.
It's not just pacing. Okay, 2 major differences. I'll talk about the pacing. The first one I want to talk about the general themes and the tone between the two because they are distinctly different. In that, in the show, the superheroics are definitely more amplified and take more center stage than the book. In the book, it's treated like a 9 to 5, where.
Oh, okay, gotcha. It's like, I'm off to go save the world, honey. 5 o'clock later, it's like, here's the pizza.
Basically, yeah, and like there's bits of that in the show, but like the action scenes in the show are much more bombastic and like action-packed and all that stuff. Most of the comics action shots in the book are like, Mark will just punch a guy once and he's out. And then he goes like, all right, cool, what are you guys up to? And that's kind of like, it's meant like kind of like a minor inconvenience to the more interpersonal drama as opposed to taking center stage until it does. Which comes into the big twist at the end of season 1, which if you read the book, you already know that's going immediately when you see the first episode.
Yeah, for sure. I think, I'm a huge lover of all animation, which is probably why I'm mostly here. I think there's like some jankiness, but it's okay for first season. Like it kind of the animation quality kind of makes me think of like the first season of Castlevania. Just like it's like we barely have a budget.
Yeah, I mean like
please pay us for a second season.
I mean for the most part, I feel like the animation style works well enough. It captures the scale of the book really well.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely some awkwardness there. Like, there's a part in particular where there's a bunch of, like, birds that are falling down dead from the sky, but they don't actually animate them falling. They just have them in that little, like, meh phase with the wings up in the air, and they just, like, dragged it down to the floor.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's like they died in midair, but then, like, there's the wind didn't catch their body at all. They just, like...
no, gravity's not affecting them at all. They're just dropping and
sacks
falling.
of potatoes.
Like, in the exact same pose.
Hollow bones suddenly turned into potatoes.
And it's kind of like, alright, you took some shortcuts there. Which is kind of disappointing because that's in, like, an ultra-dramatic sequence. So I'm kind of like,
yeah,
that could have been... You could have put a little more effort there. And then whenever 3D comes into play, it's also kind of super distracting.
Oh, yeah, there's some 3D.
Whenever, like, it doesn't happen very often. There's a few episodes like, well, that's out of nowhere. That's really distracting because it's such a different style from everything else going on.
Yeah.
So, like, overall, though, like, in a kind of match, like, I was telling you about this earlier, it's like, it kind of, oddly enough, rhymes with the book in a way because the art in the, like, the first 16 or so issues is really rough. And the animation in this one's kind of really rough at times. For the most part, it gets the job done, but there are some times you just kind of have to go, okay.
Yeah, for sure.
But overall, like, so yeah, I would say the general tone between the two is different, as in the show takes itself a bit more seriously than the book does.
I definitely thought this had more of a Young Justice kind of vibe.
Yeah, I can see Young Justice. Young Justice mixed with Spider-Man.
It's like Young Justice plus the gore of, like, the
boys, for lack of a better term.
No, Berserk is an anime.
I have not seen Berserk, so I cannot speak for that one.
Also gory.
I imagine so, based on that descriptor.
I mean, the show's called Berserk. I mean, the manga's called Berserk.
Yeah. So, like, that shift in tone kind of shifts the purpose of the book a little bit. But I think overall, like, I think it works for the most part. Like, it shifts it enough that it kind of becomes its own thing. While still doing some sequences shot for shot, basically.
I still think, like, I still got a satirical feel out of it, even though it was a little bit of a more serious tone.
I feel like the show takes the world a bit more seriously than the book does. The book does not, like, the book for the most part, like, does not take it very seriously. There's one sequence when Mark talks to, like, a comic book artist, and he goes, like, how do you do all those pages? And, like, sometimes you just reuse the same panel over and over and, like, make dramatic, awkward pauses. And, like, don't you think that's kind of lazy? And it's, like, same panel 5 times. And then it cuts to the artist who looks like this. And then 5 panels. ... No. So, that's Invincible in a nutshell. Like, it doesn't take itself too seriously until it does.
Okay, I like that.
So, like, there's some... It's some very tongue-in-cheek moments, mixed in with some ultra-dramatic moments, which actually makes them hit more stronger in the book for that reason.
Yeah.
That being said, you can definitely tell the show's trying to modernize the elements, because God knows, it was released in 2003. There's a lot of shit they need to modernize in the book. Mm-hmm. Like, there is some kind of open homophobia in the original book, which is disappointing to find. Like, not overt, but, you know, in 2003, like, the term gay was often, like, a slur by teen boys, so there's some of that in there.
I mean, it still is, but yeah, less so now.
It's much less socially acceptable now than it was back then.
Well, I also was... Okay, I can see that now, that Mark had an openly gay best friend.
Yeah, he was not like that in the book.
Okay, gotcha.
He's actually quite the opposite.
Oh, no.
He's kind of a bro.
Oh, no!
And that was one issue I did have, like, not the fact that they made him gay, more the fact they made him kind of stereotypically gay kind of bothered me a little bit. But now reading the book, it's like...
That's probably for the best.
I mean, not just for the best, but, like, yeah, they kind of did the same for the other direction, though, too. So, I don't know, maybe it kind of really balances out. That's definitely a debatable point.
I actually really like that character in the show.
I do, too, but there's definitely some of that gay
good...
best friend trope vibes in there.
Yeah, I mean, that's why he's put in there, but, like, he's still had an arc.
He does. Like, he gets better towards the second half of the season.
Yeah, when he actually has lines.
Yeah, right. But anyway, so I will say, like, there's some things the show does I genuinely like better than the book. For one, I felt like the opening, like the build up to him, like, actually embracing superhero style and stuff like that is done better in the show. That's given more time to breathe. There's more relationship with him and his father. Them actually just kind of talking about the superheroics. kind of showing the ropes. Those during sequences work best. Their relationship's still the strongest in the show. It works well. They translate that pretty well here. J.K. Simmons can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned at this point.
The way J.K. Simmons played Nolan and Nolan Omni-Man was like, it was so crazy how well you could believe that this man like maybe cared for the planet, but definitely did it near the end.
Like, J.K. Simmons is just a phenomenal actor, and this, like, the minute I heard his voice kind of...
I got very excited when I heard
like,
J.K. Simmons.
Omni-Man, I was like, perfect casting. Perfect casting.
I think it's also just because, like, Omni-Man has the
Dan mustache.
No, he's got the
J. Jonah Jameson.
From Spider-Man mustache.
A little bit.
They just grabbed him from the Spider-Man movie and threw him in.
Yeah, he's got a little whiplash in there, you know?
Yeah.
A little J. Jonah Jameson.
A little.
So I think those scenes work well. They fleshed out Nolan and Debbie's relationship. That's fleshed out much more in the show, and I like that.
Sandra really did well.
Yeah, so I really liked their dynamic. I thought they had really good chemistry, and I really liked those added scenes in there.
Especially the ultimate betrayal in the end.
Oh, yeah, like the White Stone is fantastic in the show.
Yeah.
The women in general are written a lot better in the book. I mean, like in the show compared to the movie. Like Amber is just kind of like a hot blonde bimbo for the most part in the book. In here, she actually has a character, and she's black.
Oh, okay. I'm like, I don't remember a hot blonde bimbo.
Yeah, like along with making William gay, they also made Amber black.
Oh, okay,
which is like cool, fine.
Yeah.
I
mean, I didn't know that, and I still think that's fine.
That's one of the things. Like, it affects the story in no significant way, so who cares?
Yeah.
And like, I don't know many people who are really standing for the original Amber. So, and here she actually has agency. I don't think Amber even has a line before they're making out, like in the book. She's just a hot chick, gives her a number. They don't even show the first conversation, and later on they're just making out. So it's like, okay.
Yeah, okay.
And same goes for Eve. Eve definitely is a bigger part in the book than the movie, but I honestly like her character.
The show?
No, I'm
this is the movie.
Oh, right, the show. But she is. I do like the way she's written better in the show, because in the book she kinda falls into boy crazy territory, kind of, which is something they kind of directly address in the show, because the whole scene when she flies in and he's making out with Amber.
Yeah.
Like in the book, she gets all sad and she flies away. Like, oh no, she's with another man. She's like, good for him. You're like, she's disappointed clearly, but like, you know what? Good for him. He deserves a win, and she accepts it, and she kind of does her own thing. And I like that. I thought that's a good twist, for a more modernized twist for that character.
When she sees Mark making out with him. Yeah,
for the first time.
Yeah. I actually like the fact that, like, initially when I saw Eve, I'm like, oh, he's gonna be in a weird threesome with her.
Triangle, you mean?
Yeah, weird. Sorry.
Threesome, very different thing.
Hey.
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Anyway, love triangle with Amber and Eve, and then it's like. And then it was just this, like, really mature, like, we can be friends.
Yeah, and, like, so I like that. I like the way she's written. I thought, what's her name? The woman who played Eve. She was in Community.
Gillian Decker.
Is that Britta?
Yeah, that's Britta.
Okay, then yeah, Gillian Decker. Something Gillian.
Wait, I don't remember her name.
IMDb!
Because it's not Jillian, it's Gillian
Jacobs.
Damn it.
I knew there was a Jacob in there.
What am I thinking of Decker? What?
I don't know either, but okay. Gillian Decker.
Yeah.
Gillian Jacobs. God damn it, you got me doing it now.
Yeah. See, I don't know. It's a Mandela effect thing.
Anyway, Gillian Jacobs. I feel like a lot of the actors in this felt a little stiff on the first couple episodes, but they kind of like warmed into their parts as time went on, which is expected. A lot of these people aren't like seasoned voice actors, except for like J.K. Simmons.
Stephen Ewan's done some voice acting.
Has he?
Yeah, Final Space.
How long ago was that?
It's still going on.
Oh, okay. Well, the fuck do I know?
It's in its 4th season right now.
Well, either way, my point is they sounded a little stiff initially, but they kind of warmed up to it as the show went on. But yeah.
Also, another thing you should check out: the Final Space.
Yeah. So like definitely, I think this is kind of those weird cases where like both the show and the book kind of have different things to offer. And they both kind of earn their place in the culture, in the geek zeitgeist, in a weird way, especially as it builds up. And I think at this point we could probably go into like full spoilers.
Oh yeah.
To talk about the larger elements, because the parts they did really nail, and the part that you could tell where they really focused on. There's some kind of weird hodgepodge changes here and there. Like some events happen sooner than the book does. Some parts I haven't even read to, and you hadn't read a good chunk of the book yet. Like the whole thing with the robot.
Or the bit with when Omni-Man kills everybody.
Well, that happens pretty naturally in the story of where that's in the
yeah,
the
but like I think in the book it happens way later, right? In comparison.
Yeah, like I want to say Omni-Man kills the Guardians of the World, Guardians of the Globe, that's what they call it.
The GOG.
The GOG. He kills them around, I want to say 6 issues in.
Oh, okay. So it's still pretty early on.
It's still pretty early.
I think it was good that that they did it so early, because the beginning with the clone brothers, and then they do that, and then Omni-Man kills the Guardians. It's just like, hey, remember when you felt fucking safe, motherfucker? That's not this show.
See, the funny thing is when I first watched the show, when I watched the first couple episodes the first time, I didn't know there was an after credit scene. So on the first episode, when it cuts the credits, like, oh, okay, cool, done. And I backed out, and I did not realize there was a whole other sequence there where the Guardians fucking die, and you get to watch it happen. So the next episode open up, and they're just already dead. Like it opens up, and they're just paste on the fucking surface they're on.
Yeah. So my experience was I was watching it, but I was also playing Tetris 99 at the same time. I got the credits. I was about to hit the next episode, but I was also about to die in Tetris 99. I'm like, okay, let me see if I can win. And then that scene happened, and I was like, and then I'm like, let me just end this game really quick.
Like, nope, that's not happening. All right.
No. Like, okay, we're not playing Tetris anymore. What?
I will say, like, one difference between honestly, I kind of would have liked it better, I think, if they actually didn't show the fight and they just came in. I kind of liked it better not seeing how it happened, because it kind of had that more mystery element to it. Granted, the book doesn't hide the fact that he did it, but he also doesn't show how it happened. He just walks in, everyone gets murdered immediately, and he just, like, standing over their bodies.
Yeah, I felt it was more important for the viewers to know that Omni-Man definitely killed the Guardians. Because, like, it's just sort of like, whoa, this guy's a hero. Like, what?
Yeah, but I think there could have been more suspense on that one. I think just having the Guardians die in the first episode would have equally conveyed the point of nobody is really safe here. And we're not playing by the traditional superhero rules, which was the intention of both the book and the show, to do that.
Yeah, for sure. And then, you know, so basically what's like, what, 8 episodes?
Yeah.
So throughout these 8 episodes, you have, like, fun, coming-of-age, teenage story, and then, like, what the fuck is Omni-Man doing?
Yeah, like, and that's, like, I do give that props to, like, the writing and the voice acting, the fact that even though you already know he does commit these things, there's still kind of that mystery of why.
Yeah, for sure.
And they do a good job building up the suspense of that and the personal stakes of that until eventually leads out. And if you know comics, even if you haven't read Invincible, you know anything about the comics, you know this fight. It's one of the most well-known in all of comics, between Invincible and Omni-Man the first time, because it's one case where the hero just gets demolished, just openly and vehemently just destroyed. And they for the most part, like, not only do they keep it pretty much shot for shot in the book, with some cut dialogue that I was a little disappointed by, but they even added in just more brutality in there that I was not expecting.
Oh, the fucking train?
The fucking train.
Yeah. Are you guys familiar with a table saw?
You guys, I'm familiar with the table saw.
Yeah, well, I'm to the viewers. So you know what a table saw is, right? It's like a big thing, and then there's like a big blade in the middle, and then what you're supposed to do is push wood into the saw from far away, and then right? So what happens in Invincible, the season finale, is, you know, Omni-Man and Invincible are fighting, and they end up in Chicago, and Omni-Man, like, grabs Mark
Yeah.
and uses them
Just holds in there.
like in front of the train to make a point about how insignificant and pathetic humanity is by turning him essentially into the saw part of the table saw.
Yeah.
And like you got to see a train get split in half and the people inside too.
Yeah.
And the entire time he's like, "Oh God, I'm being covered in blood and guts."
Yeah, it's pretty gruesome. I was like, oh, Jesus.
It is probably the most gruesome thing I've seen in a long time.
For sure. I do think, because the series was definitely intended as like a deconstruction superhero genre, very much in the same way The Walking Dead was for the zombie genre. So in that way, this is actually one of those rare cases where I do feel like the blood and guts do serve a narrative point, as opposed to just being there for shock value. As it's definitely meant to highlight the human cost of superheroing in a very visual way. Now,
I mean, they were already doing that by like Mark's disillusionment of like being a superhero was already being challenged by like what, episode 2,
give or take, yeah. When the alien, when
the time aliens happened.
yeah, when that happened. And so it's like I like that element there. It wasn't a case where like, one, it demonstrated that nobody is safe, and two, it really just shows that how vulnerable the humans are compared to the superheroes.
But also, there was that one scene when, the aliens are there, and Mark is the grandma, and he rushes her to the superhero hospital, and she still fucking dies.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of like, wow, like, he's learning these lessons really quickly, like, you can't save everybody, like, you're going to fail, and there's gonna be a lot of blood.
I mean, that's
on your hands, that kind of thing.
There was a point, and I mentioned this to you before, there was a line in the book that I really wish they kept in the show.
Oh, yeah.
Because it really just demonstrated just the idea that these massive superhero fights we all read these comics for are usually played kind of tongue-in-cheek, or not as serious as they should be. Is like every time one superpowered person, a strong Superman, punches another, it's the equivalent of a natural disaster, or just like this horrible event. And that's a case where when Omni-Man finally finally completes his arc and goes full rogue, and he just punches Invincible once, and he goes clean through half the continent and crashes into Chicago. Buildings collapse. People are dead everywhere. It's like that scene in Watchmen with this giant squid, except it's like they do it over and over again, that same fight sequence, which is what makes the fight scene so infamous. And he has a line in there that basically directly makes that connection, where he's like, one punch and thousands die. These people are weak and insignificant. Which again just ups the doing what The Boys tries to do, but much more cynically and up its own ass about it. Which just shows these people are fucking gods compared to the people they're protecting. And if they decide to turn against you, not a lot of you are gonna make it.
Yeah.
And that's how you deconstruct that kind of properly. But at the same time, it's not doing it cynically. It's not doing it saying this genre is bad because this. It's saying that, again, asking that question in a more not a positive way, but grounded way of, if these people were to exist, if you lived in a world where this could happen, what would the human cost actually be?
God, life insurance would be so expensive.
Okay, you imagine how much it would cost to insure a fucking building?
No, I'm just saying, if you lived in a city and you knew there was a superhero there, right? Not even The Boys status.
Yeah.
The
Boys is much more up his own ass about it.
Yeah. And then it's dude, there's a fucking speedster in our goddamn city, and it's just I could walk across the street and die.
Yeah, pretty much.
Although that's more of The Boys.
Yeah, it's definitely more The Boys. This one is more what would the collateral damage more realistically look like in these scuffles.
For sure.
And I feel
which is why Goku's a better hero, because he always takes his fight far, far away from civilization.
Don't even fucking start. Don't even go there.
I'm not. I'm on the Goku is a bad dad train.
And he is, but that's the whole thing. I don't even follow Dragon Ball Z, even I know fucking know that.
I think I told you why.
No, I know enough about the series.
We'll move on.
All right.
It's about Invincible.
Yeah. But
yeah, we got 16 years of comics and at least 2 more seasons to go, right?
At least 2 more. They got renewed for 2 more seasons. Some things I did not like from book to show translation. Rex Sploder.
Oh yeah.
Got way too much to chew on in the show compared to the book, and I think you and I both agree. It's because I think Jason Mantzoukas got cast as Rex Sploder, and he's a good choice, but it did feel like the Jim Carrey effect, where they just kind of like, oh, just let him do whatever he wants, and it'll all be gold, and then not knowing how to pull that back when you needed to. And
I didn't have that issue. I felt like it wasn't like he was too much. I just felt like the way they wrote him for the show wasn't executed right.
It was more just like he was so obnoxious in everyone's face all the fucking time. And it got to the point where you're just like, even though he's supposed to be like Eve's boyfriend, it's like, why the fuck would you stay with him even if he didn't cheat on you? Like, he is just the worst, and he's confronting everybody. Like, and he's a dick in the book too, but not this bad.
Like, the way he's presented in the show is sort of like those guys that like you imagine are like flip-flops at the beach, and they're also just like, bruh, you want to get fish tacos? And like, they're just like the fucking worst.
And it's more just like, in the show, he just never shuts the fuck up. He's that kind of character in the show.
Yeah, he just really, there's another character that has a similar, like, execution to him.
In the show?
No, different show.
Oh, okay.
I'll think about it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But like, there was a case every time I was like, oh god, and I know he's not supposed to be liked, but there's a right and a wrong way to make that character, and they just felt like the way that he was written in the show just did not work for me. Mm-hmm. I really like Zachary Quinto as Robot. I thought he was a really good casting choice.
That was Zachary Quinto?
That was Zachary Quinto.
Oh, God.
Yeah. They definitely sped his story up a bit. I don't know his full story. I know where he ends up going, and I'm not going to give it away because that hasn't happened in the show yet.
I like the added like mystery of what he was doing throughout his basically arc, because like it was just like whoa, like, when he releases the Clone Brothers.
Yeah.
And it's just like, whoa, like, why would he do that? Do we have, like, an Omni-Man B happening at the same time? And it's just like, because I was walking into this entire thing with no context.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And, and so it made every week really exciting for me. So, like, it's like, who's gonna fucking explode into pudding this week?
I will say,
you like your cherry pudding.
Like, I actually really like Robot in this season. I do think, like, again, it's fascinating reading the book, like, after watching the show and realizing, like, yeah, Robot's kind of a dick in the book. Like, he's kind of has the Scar attitude of, I'm surrounded by idiots. Kind of a vibe going. And that he's still, like, wants to do good, and he still, like, likes people, and he's still nice people, but at the same time, he's also got this, like, oh yeah, I knew that already. Like, why are you fucking explaining this to me?
I'm definitely too smart for you.
Basically, it's like, I already knew all this shit. Why are you explaining it to me?
Yeah, for sure.
That kind of vibe. And it works well in both. Both are executed pretty well. I'll be curious to see where they go with that, because again, I do know, I have not read that part of the book that addresses the story the show does.
I think there's one thing that I really enjoyed about Amber, and it's the fact that she dumps Mark initially, knowing full well that he's a superhero of some kind.
See, I don't know, that kind of frustrated me a little bit, because
no, because for me, here's where I'm coming from, right? Mm-hmm. It's just like, that was always my biggest issue with, like, people who are, like, kind of close to the hero. It's like, wow, this guy sure, like, runs away like a pansy, and then this hero shows up. Like, it's like, good, someone connected A and B really quickly, but then they're still mad about the actual thing that matters, which is that they were lying.
True, like, but in the context of that particular scene, now it's like, yeah, but, like, the other guy's boyfriend is, like, right there. What do you expect him to say in this situation? At least try to have a conversation about it afterwards.
Or like, pull them aside in private and be like, I fucking know.
Like, and do, like, that route, other than, like, hey, if you don't expose your public, like, secret identity in front of people who don't already know, then I'm gonna dump you right now. That was a little annoying to me.
I still liked
I like that she figured it out.
I like the implication that, unlike most superhero stories where people are too dumb to realize, hey, I'm Superman and now I'm Clark Kent, and that was me putting on glasses and taking them off, right? And it's just like, wow, it's like someone made the puzzles. Dude, if you put two Legos together, they fit.
Yeah, that is a joke the book regularly goes back to. There's not even like a big dramatic build up to when William finds out. It's more like the first time he sees him, like, oh shit, it's Mark. Like, it's not even subtle. Like, in like the first like 5 issues, there's like their physics professor is like building basically teenage suicide bombs.
Right.
And then like when they find out who it is and they go in there in costume, he looks and Eve's there too, and he goes like, oh, Mark, Eve, like Samantha, come on in. And he's like, you know who you are? I was like, you're not even wearing a mask. Come on in.
That's good. But I also like how they even kind of made fun of them making fun of it when William at the end was like, oh, I see it now. You're Eve. I'm stupid.
There's some tongue-in-cheek moments there. I feel like the book does it better, but it's still funny whenever they kind of point that out.
Yeah, for sure. So overall, I think like the overall average intelligence in the show is a little bit higher.
A little bit. There's still some parts of like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, I mean, but like if you're also like, remember when Cecil sent the 2 fighter pilots to fight Omni-Man, and it's like, what are they gonna do? Probably nothing.
Yeah.
Buy time.
Yeah.
We just need the kid to figure out something. Like,
pretty much.
This is the apocalypse, and I don't know what to do.
Yeah, so I feel like just overall,
it's a good show.
I really like the show so far. I'm curious what to do with future seasons. I think they have only they can only go from up from here.
Yeah.
As they kind of go forward. It is a different feel from the book. So if you're like a diehard fan of the book, be prepared that it is a bit of a tonal shift. Not a dramatic one, but enough to be noticeable, I would say. And they do make some kind of weird tweaks and changes. I don't really understand why they went that route. But I do think there are some genuinely upgrades from the book here to be are worthy of note.
Yeah, I'm really excited for some of the setup for next season. The next few seasons, especially with not Tombstone / Kingpin.
I don't think it was a Tombstone amalgamation.
He's dressed at least like Kingpin, but his powers are like Tombstone-ish.
Not really.
He's hard as a rock.
Tombstone is just like he's an albino with really sharp teeth who has really tough skin. Like I would say put it closer to Luke Cage than I would Tombstone.
Oh. Yeah, it is more like Luke Cage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Actually, I think it is more like Luke Cage.
Yeah.
Now that you pointed it out.
Yeah.
Because, didn't they say in the show it was like the clam shells or something like that? I forgot. Whatever.
I forget. Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I'll watch Luke Cage again. Oh, wait, no!
So overall, I recommend the show. I think it's really good. I think it's a good start to an adaptation of the story.
Yeah, so I'm really excited just for like now that they'll have a budget and for 2 or 3 seasons, like
now they've proven people like this. Okay.
What can they? How can they improve on their animation techniques? Because it's just sort of like. Because if you haven't seen the trailer if you haven't been watching Netflix's Castlevania, like the difference in animation quality from like season 1 to the season 4 trailer, and I'm like, whoa, that's the season 4 fucking trailer. Like I wanna see the growth as animators for Invincible, because that's the most exciting thing for me when I'm watching shows that they get to go on for more than 1 year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, the Dracula fight in season 2 is like my top 5 of all time.
Yeah.
That's I think all we really have to say about Invincible. Still a bunch more we need to catch up on for next week. I think we still got to talk about Falcon Winter Soldier at some point.
Yeah, I'm thinking when you say, I'll suggest it later. Never mind.
Okay. Then there's there's that new Netflix movie that came out to me by the guys who made like 21 Jump Street.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's on Netflix right now. That just came out. That looks. I mean, it's made by them, so I'll watch it. It involves evil Furbies at one point.
Nice.
So I'm down for that. And then there's Rent a Comedy called Monday. There's a horror movie called The Unholy, and all these other kind of shit. So we'll catch you guys for that. So Thank you all for watching. See y'all later.